Cougar Nation, and welcome back to our first episode of Counseling Confidential, a podcast where we help you decode high school. I'm Claudia Wigger.
I'm Brittany McClure.
And today we're going to talk to you a little bit about counseling in general and a few resources that we have, as well as Suicide Prevention Week. So, Brittany, if you want to kick it off.
Yeah, so our school counseling department, maybe you don't know what we do, but we focus on 3 domains. So we are here to support you with any social and emotional needs. Academics, if you're really struggling in a class and you don't know what the next steps are, you can come and talk to your school counselor, as well as post-secondary. So we're here to support you through that process of what you want to do after high school. If you want to connect with your school counselor, the best way to do that is to set up an appointment through email is usually best. But you can try to drop down during your study hall and see if one of us is available.
Yeah, that's great. I think one of the biggest things is we want to avoid trying to come down here unless it's a crisis. We want to avoid coming down during our class periods.
Yeah, for sure.
Our goal is to keep you in the classroom and get all the education you can get. And then that way we're not falling behind and causing more stress from the snowball effect of that.
For sure.
And today specifically, we really want to point out to y'all a flowchart resource. So Ms. McClure mentioned that we have college, career, and academic. Those are 2 huge domains that we do. And the third one is super important, the social emotional piece, right? And that can be a variety of things, right? It can be we're having a conflict with a friend, there's something going on at home, anything within that umbrella. And so we want to make sure that you all have an ability and a way to tell your teacher, hey, I need to go see my counselor without having to be telling them like what the reason is, right? We want to be able to keep your information as confidential as we can, right? Yeah. So the goal of this request to see a counselor flowchart is really to keep you in the classroom as needed, and then also to just get you access to a counselor quicker. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. So we have 4 levels. Level 1 is our lowest level. It's green. And that's just if you want your counselor to know that you're kind of struggling a little bit, but you don't need immediate assistance. Students can use a coping skill or ask for a break or just talk to a trusted adult that's available without necessarily needing to come down to the counseling office. If you want to let your counselor know what's going on, you can scan the QR code at the bottom and we'll be sure to read that.
Yeah. Once you scan that QR code, what will happen is a form will pop up and you'll just put your name, your grade, what level you are, so 1, 2, or 3, and then you put what period you have your study hall, just so that we know when we can pull you. Then we have level 2. So this is our yellow level. So as you can kind of tell, these progress as they go. So level 2 is I do need to talk to my counselor, but within the next 2 or 3 days. So maybe there was a conflict that happened with a friend, but I can get through the next couple days, but I do want to vent about it, or I want some advice on it or anything like that. This is when you definitely will scan the QR code that you see in the bottom corner. That is going to allow you to fill out that form, let them know, and then we as counselors are able to be like, okay, let me see my calendar. When is their study hall? And we can pull you the earliest we can in that 3-day window. Okay.
Level 3 is our orange level. So this is when you need to talk to a counselor by the end of the day. So there's something really weighing on you. If the student can stay in the room to cool down, please do that. Maybe you need just a quick little break, use your coping skills, but you can still fill out this form and it will be shared with your counselor. We'll try to grab you before the end of the day. If it gets to be 6th period and you haven't been pulled yet, you filled that out 1st period, please ask your 7th period teacher to come down to the counseling office so that we can make sure you're seen.
Absolutely. And then the last one, we have our red level. This is our level 4. So this is, I need to see my counselor immediately, right? Like this is, I'm in a crisis that can look a multitude of ways depending on, the type of student. A lot of times it involves tears or hyperventilating or panic attacks or anything like that. But you're so dysregulated that you physically cannot be in the classroom, okay? And so in that case, there's no need for you to fill out that form because then it comes to our email. We got to wait to pass it out. Like we want to be able to see you immediately in those cases, right? So what you can do is you can ask your teacher, like, hey, I'm at a 4. I really need to go see my counselor. It's a crisis. And what they can do is they can take the pass that they give you, the orange pass, and just write a 4 at the top. And then that way, when you come down with that, if we're in a position where like we walk in and we see Miss Brunel, our lovely secretary, and we are like, let's say we're crying and it's really hard for us to tell her like, what's going on? I need to see someone immediately, all that kind of stuff. But we have that pass. That 4 will help her indicate kind of like, okay, let's go. Like, where can we get you? If your counselor's not available, we'll look for our STARS counselor. If Miss Morris is not available, then it'll be whatever counselor is available. But we'll make sure that someone sees you. Okay.
Definitely.
With that is, that's a break, right? So we're trying to get you back to class as quickly as you can. So we'll have that conversation, try and regulate you, and then we're going to try and get you back to class if we can, okay? With that added note, there is an important note in the other side in the bottom of your form, and this is if you need immediate assistance. So if a student tells their teacher or tells a friend that they want to self-harm or someone's going to hurt them, or they are having thoughts of killing themselves, anything along that realm, that is something that needs an escort. And so the reason for that is, we do it in the most discreet way that we possibly can, of course, because we want to keep your confidentiality, but we want to make sure that you're safe. That's really our number one priority, right? And so it can look a lot of ways. Your teacher can walk you down. Your teacher might call someone to come to the room and get you and walk you down. We may pop up there and grab you. But an adult needs to be with you at all times, just for your own safety, right? And like I said, we really try to do that in the most discreet way. Our goal is not to out you to your entire classroom of peers, okay? Mm-hmm. Safety is our priority.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So since you kind of touched on that important note at the end, we are going to be pulling in one of our students from Mental Health Matters Club and talking about suicide prevention.
Hey, Andrea, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So we have Andrea with us today to talk to us about the Suicide Prevention Week that's happening this week, as well as she is part of our Mental Health Matters Club. You're actually the president of our club,
I'm
is that correct?
Actually the Education and Advocacy Chair.
Oh, perfect. I love it. So she's going to be here with us today. We're going to kind of work through a couple questions and give you guys some resources as we enter Suicide Prevention Week. So I guess I'll start. Why is Suicide Prevention Week so important?
So according to the CDC, suicide is now the second leading cause of death, especially between ages 10 to 24. One of the most helpful and effective ways that we can contribute to suicide prevention is by raising awareness. As a society, we need to reduce the stigma around mental health and let people know that they can reach out for help and that hope and healing is possible. Most people struggling with their mental health do not reach out because of fear of being judged or misunderstood. It's our responsibility to look out for others and check for the warning signs. We need to help people feel heard and understood, but most importantly, feel those things without judgment. Mm-hmm. Right. So what are the warning signs that we should look for?
Yeah, Britt, you got it?
Yeah. Everyone can feel sad, depressed, stressed, or angry sometimes, especially when dealing with the pressures of school, friends, family. But some people may feel sadness or hopelessness that doesn't seem to go away. Friends or family are often the first ones to notice how serious things are, which is why it's so important that we check in on those around us. Some immediate warning signs that someone may be thinking of suicide include talking about suicide or death, talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live, talking about feeling trapped or being a burden, engaging in self-destructive behavior. Maybe that's alcohol, drugs, driving too fast, self-harming, for example. Visiting or calling people to say goodbye, giving away possessions, especially their most treasured items, and isolating from friends, family, and activity that they used to enjoy.
Yeah, those are all really great examples of kind of what to look out for. So if you notice anyone that is exhibiting any of those behaviors, just, make sure that we're having those conversations.
Yeah, and especially the self-destructive one, that's not one that I usually typically think of. So, okay. So students might wonder, what can I do if I'm worried about someone?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So a lot of times when we're seeing those warning signs and we're noticing them in our family members or our friends, it's important that we don't just wait to see if they get better, right? We have to talk about it. I know it can be uncomfortable, but asking them directly, are you having thoughts of suicide? Have you ever thought about killing yourself? Those direct questions can be life-changing, truly. Yeah. And so sometimes talking about that can make that person that's feeling that way feel seen, more cared about, heard, understood. You're opening that door for those people, right? And like I mentioned, it's not hard. And, example of something that you might say to that friend or family member is, I've noticed that you've been isolating yourself. You've been talking about dying, even if it's in passing or as a joke, it probably is not a joke, right? At the end of the day, you could say, have you been having thoughts about killing yourself? I know that it's such a direct question and it sounds so harsh when it comes out of your mouth, but it's truly the one way that you're going to get that answer, right? Going about in a roundabout way, then you're confused as to what's really going on potentially. So we try to be as clear as we possibly can with those type of questions. And it's important to remember, be prepared for them to say, yes, I have thought about killing myself, right? And be ready to then have that plan of like, okay, who am I going to tell when this happens? If my friend tells me they want to kill themselves, like, who am I going to go to? My counselor, my teacher, my parent, another trusted coach, guardian, anyone that you kind of feel safe with, whether that's at school or at home.
So if someone does answer yes, what resources are available, for people with that information if you're struggling yourself and you don't have access to a trusted adult?
I think you have to be prepared for the fact that someone might ask you to keep that a secret, and you cannot keep it a secret. Let them know how much you care about them and that you have to share this with a trusted adult because you care. It may feel like you're betraying them, but if they're having thoughts of suicide, this could save somebody's life. Share your concerns with a trusted adult as soon as possible. This could be your parent, school counselor, coach, teacher, any other responsible adult in your life. Also, there are some resources you can utilize 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if you aren't sure about what to do. There's 988, which is our emergency suicide and crisis lifeline that you can text or call. Or you can text TALK, T-A-L-K, to 741-741 for the crisis text line. You can also use these resources if you are the friend that's being told that somebody has these thoughts of suicide and you just want to talk through what you're going through.
Yeah. Again, like kind of picking back off of that, like the people that are being that support system, like what are ways that they can take care of themselves during this process?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because that's a heavy thing to hold on to, right? That's going to sit right up on your chest. And it's really normal to feel worried or sad or upset about your friend or loved one that is going through this, right? But it's also important to remember that it can be severely draining on yourself as the person who has received this information, because you're constantly going to be worried about, your friend or family member's problems, what they're going through, their emotions, all of those pieces. So, it can be helpful to talk to an adult you trust. And that's why that resource is so great. Because as Ms. McClure mentioned, if you don't feel like you have that trusted adult, or maybe not like readily accessible, you can text that 988 number, right? 24/7 and talk to someone and get that off your chest, like pull that out of your drawer of all the things that you got going on before, it overcomes us. It's also really important to find, our positive activities, right? Or coping skills is the big word that everyone uses, right? To release those stress and emotions. So whether that's like skateboarding, listening to music, drawing, whatever brings you joy is something that you need to participate in, right? And another really big piece to remember is, mental health treatment it's not overnight, right? They're not going to tell you this information and then you tell a supportive adult and then the next day your friend comes to school and is like, guess what? I feel great again. That's not how that works, unfortunately, right? So it takes a lot of time, but it's important to remember that while we are supporting others, that we're making sure that we're also taking care of ourselves, because that helps both of you, right?
All right, Andrea, we laid out a lot just barely. What is the Mental Health Matters Club doing at CHS this week for Suicide Prevention Week?
So the Mental Health Matters Club is doing several things this week to promote awareness. So there's so many ways that people can get engaged with this. On Tuesday, we're going to have a lunch table. There's going to be a banner that people can sign just showing their support towards ending suicide, suicide prevention. And we're going to have like handouts, stickers, resources. And then also on Wednesday, we're going to have a video that's going to be shown during Roar. Again, talking about resources, ways people can get engaged with this, things that you can do to like take care of yourself if you know someone that's going through that. And also we're going to pass out the 988 info cards. On Thursday, we're also going to have a lunch table, and there's going to be some trivia kind of thing, like questions are going to be like, what are some coping mechanisms that you can do? What are the warning signs? Just things to get people thinking about that. And then with a chance of winning some swag.
Ooh, we love prizes.
Also on Thursday, it's going to be a teal and purple day. So if you wear teal and purple, you're going to be showing your support towards suicide prevention, because those are the colors for it. And then we're going to have a kind of post-it note type thing so people can write down healthy coping mechanisms that they use. It could be like, again, like walking your dog, activities you enjoy. It could be watching Netflix.
I love that. I can't wait to look at that board and find some new ones for myself.
Yes, and that we're actually doing that on Tuesday as well. We just talked about that today.
Great. Awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's all for now about Suicide Prevention Week. Thank you, Andrea, so much for taking the time to come chat with us. And you'll see Andrea and the rest of the Mental Health Matters Club in the lunchroom on your screens in Roar on Wednesday. And we hope that you guys participate and really, gain some knowledge and resources from this week.
Yes.
All right. Wow, that was some really good information.
Oh, definitely.
We
Andrea did such a great job.
Yeah, we love Andrea and the Mental Health Matters Club. Well, that's it for today, Cougar Nation. We see you.
We hear you.
And we respect you.